So our goal is we want to find the line L that is perpendicular to y equals 3/2 x. So in order to get the equation for a line, we're going to use the point-slope formula. Point-slope formula, which, as the name implies, requires that you have a point and a slope. And if you have those, then you can turn those two things into an equation for a line. Because if, right, the slope of a line is how steep it is, right? This is a shallow sloped line. This is a steep sloped line. This is a very flat sloped line. This is a negative sloped line. But like, that's what slope means, right? Is how steep or shallow it is. And that doesn't tell you like everything you need to know about a line. You also need to know where it is. So like, if I've got, right, this line has a slope of whatever it is. It's about 3/2, and this line also has a slope of about 3/2, and this line also has a slope of about 3/2, but they don't, like, this line goes through this point, and this line goes through this point, and this line goes through this point. So like, if you have the slope and I know that it's a 3/2 slope and it goes through this point, then like that is exactly one line. There's only one line in the entire universe that meets those criteria. And likewise, like knowing a point on a line doesn't give you everything you need to know. But if I say like the line goes through this point and then like this line goes through that point, this line goes through that point, this line goes through that point. But if I know the slope, if I know it goes through this point and it has a slope of 3/2, there's only one line in the world that can meet those criteria. So if you have a point and a slope, I can turn that into an equation that defines exactly one line. So the trick is then, in general, when they're asking for the equation of a line, you need to find these two things. And the great news is they gave us one of them. So at the point, back up to the question, at the point 2, 3. 2, 3. So brilliant. We have a point. 2, 3. Now we need the slope. Now, I don't remember why. But the slope of a line perpendicular, the slope of perpendicular lines are inverse reciprocals. So if you have the slope of one, you can find the slope of the other by dividing them by -1. So m1 times m2 equals -1. And we can probably figure out why that is. If you're really curious, I'm sure I can find the derivative, like how we figured that out. But for right now, we're just going to work with it. So the slope that we want, Rm, times 3/2 is equal to -1. Because, actually, we'll just make that a column. Because the internet said so. So, in order to, right, this is just like, what's his name? Instructanto Cooper was talking about, right? If we had, right, this is just a blank, like it would have been back in, well, would have been for me back in second grade. I don't know what your classes were doing in second grade. Fuck all, as far as I can tell. But anyway, the m is just the blank we're trying to figure out. So these are multiplied together because if there's no sign in between them, they're always assumed to be multiplication. So we're going to divide both halves by 3/2. Divided by 3/2. Divided by 3/2. Because that's the fundamental rule of algebra. You can do whatever you want as long as you do it to both sides equally. because algebra. And I can go more into that if you'd like. Again, I'm happy to go into more detail on any of this. Just let me know. I can't go down infinite rabbit holes. We'll run out of time. So then there's lots of ways you can do this. I don't know what your preferred method is. 3/2 is 1.5, so you could do equals -1 over 1.5. You can plug that into the calculator. You can do it as fractions. Whatever. I'm going to do it as fractions, both because that's my preferred method and because it makes the final thing a little easier, because we're going to want a fraction at the end of the day anyway. So those will cancel out. If I multiply by 3/2 and divide by 3/2, it'll come out to just being m. It'll come out to the thing I had before. And then I have -1 over 1. And to divide by a fraction, you invert and multiply, so times 2/3. And then multiplication is the super easy one for fractions, so our negative sign comes through. 1 times 1 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. -2/3. So, I should go get my artist glove is what I should do, and then it would stop writing, whatever. So m equals -2/3 because fractions. So now we have a point and we have a slope. M equals -2/3, and we have to turn that into an equation. God, the point slope formula is it's the friend formula, is y, the variable, minus y, our point, equals m times x, the variable, minus x, the specific point we're looking at. And then we have to solve for whatever format they want it in. So my mother-in-law calls this the friend formula. Its official name, formula, nice. Formula. Its official name is the point slope formula. But she calls it the friend formula because then you can remember how to write it. It is y minus his friend is equal to the slope times x minus his friend. My mother-in-law is a little heteronormative. So in this case, y's friend is the point, is the y value of the point in question. So y minus 3 is equal to, m we just calculated was -2/3 times x minus his friend is the x value of our point, so x minus 2. And then we have to rearrange that into whatever formula the teacher wants. Teacher says slope-intercept form. Thank God, that's what we want to do. Use integers and fractions. I can work with that. So the great thing about the point slope formula, or sorry, the slope-intercept form is it's the easy one to get out of this formula. So we're going to start by distributing our 2/3 because distributive property. So y minus 3, we're leaving that alone for the moment, is -2/3 x minus, minus a negative times a negative is a positive, so plus 2 times, well, we'll do it the hard way, 2/3 times 2/1. And that was all distributive property. Distributive. I wonder if I have any more space. Running out of room. Do you give me more room? Yes. Brilliant. Okay, so we had y minus 3 is equal to -2/3 x plus 2/3 times 2 over 1, because distributive, which we can simplify, so I'm going to leave this side alone. Y minus 3 equals negative 2/3 x plus 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 1 is 3, so plus 4/3. And then now I'm going to add my 3. So I'm going to add plus 3 to both sides, plus 3, and that gives us y equals, we always add like terms to like terms, so there is no x on our 3, so it has nothing to do with this negative 2/3 x. We just do negative 2/3 x. We just leave that alone. And then our 4/3 plus 3. So we wanted integers or fractions. So we're going to make an improper fraction out of this. So plus 4/3 plus 3 over 1, and that's the fundamental rule of algebra. By the way, that's what I call it, the fundamental rule of algebra. That is not an official thing, so if you use that term, no one's going to understand it. I mean, they might understand it because it is the fundamental rule of algebra, but like that's not its official name, as far as I know. That's just what I call it. Anyway, but now I have to add fractions. And to add fractions, you have to have like denominators. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 3. 3 ones is the same as 9/3, right? If I have 3/3, I have a whole pizza. If I have 6/3, I have 2 pizzas. If I have 9/3, I have 3 pizzas. And 3 pizzas is what I'm trying to add here. So we have 4/3 of a pizza plus 9/3 of a pizza gives us 4 plus 9 is 13. 13/3 of a pizza. Because fractions. And then we can carry all the rest of this down. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 13/3. And it really feels like we should be able to do something with those thirds, but we really can't. So yeah, that's slope-intercept form, which is so called because we have the slope. This negative 2/3 is the slope. And this is the y-intercept, which I think you mentioned they actually got around to explaining the other day. But just in case, we'll just go graph this.